Hi, everyone, and thanks for being with me. I have become more and more interested. I don't know if interested is the right word, but more and more aware, I guess, that because an election is looming here in Australia, probably about 6 weeks away, we are conscious of the impact that the United States has on us through either tariffs or us paying them billions of dollars for AUKUS, a submarine which we probably never will receive. So, in the light of all of that, there's a lot of other interesting things happening in Australia, whereby we're moving more and more, probably towards independence in this country, and I've spoken about that before. And something, in fact, I support that independence are a very important part of how we define our communities. And the people that are elected as independents are normally smart, intelligent individuals who, particularly in the Tills, I guess, not all of them when one thinks of One Nation and Clive Palmer's party, but nevertheless, on the whole, most of those people, whether they be Greens or whether they be Till people, are usually people that are pretty much tuned in to their local community. Now, and they have a range of policies, but most of those policies that they have are kind of progressive, and so they kind of more align with the Labor Party than not. So, of course, I would support anybody who chooses to be progressive, care about their community, and are interested in the well-being of their community as opposed to big business, corporations, and the influence that money has in politics. But there is an article I want to read to you, because you may not subscribe to it, from the Saturday paper by Barry Jones. Now, Barry was, I don't know how old Barry is now, he must be well in his 80s, I would imagine, but he was on a thing called Pick a Box back in the 60s, and he won everything. He's a very intelligent man. Is a guy, I think, who went off and did his law degree and did in something like a year. Extremely intelligent and a forward-type thinker. And anyway, he's put out this piece in the Saturday paper that I'm going to read to you because a lot of it makes, to me, a lot of sense. And I'd be interested to know what you may think of some of the things that Barry has to say. So he says, in the forthcoming Australian election, the actions of the re-elected Donald Trump will be the dominant issue, especially the tariff war and the future of the AUKUS nuclear submarine project. Trump failed to recognise the AUKUS acronym, which he did, which is a bit of an embarrassment. There again, Trump's just a total embarrassment. Trump failed to recognise the AUKUS acronym. Yep, his policies on Ukraine, Gaza and climate change are all of great concern. Politicians are often regarded as economical with the truth, and ain't that the truth? And remembering that Jones himself was a politician and had first-hand experience of all of that. In Trump's case, he may be incapable of distinguishing between truth and falsehood. He exhibits some of the characteristics of glossolalia, speaking in tongues, with no gap between what is going on in his head and what comes out of his mouth. No truer word has ever been said. Sometimes he surprises himself by what he has just said, and often, as a result of that, doesn't seem to remember it. He never deviates from America First, nativism on immigration, protectionism on trade, isolationism from the world. He is passionately opposed to the concept of diversity, equity and inclusion. He has declared war on the globe and is indifferent to suffering. So true. His quality control is the ruthlessness with which he imposes his policies. That's what his voters want, and this is important. They expect him to deliver, and he is delivering. And I think that's a true assessment too. Trump is repelled by modernity and complexity and obsessed with making a deal. He didn't know much about Abraham Lincoln, puzzled by his image on Mount Rushmore and his ranking at the summit by historians. He insists Lincoln should have made a deal to avoid the civil war by allowing the South to retain a little slavery. How bizarre is that? Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, France and Israel all claimed a special relationship with the United States. But in 2025, this has proved to be delusional, except possibly in the case of Israel. Trump identifies strongly with authoritarian leaders, especially Russian President Vladimir Putin and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Australia's major problems are unlikely to be addressed in the election campaign. Instead, we'll focus on personality and grievance and ignore the colossal policy challenges in front of us. Australia, now I think this paragraph is really important to acknowledge. Australia ranks number one per capita in the world for spending on gambling. Our education, and I as a gambling counsellor many years ago, know that's a fact. Our educational system is one of the most unequal in the Western world, and our federal parliament sits for fewer days than any other democracy. We are more secretive than Britain or the US. Our great institutions suffer from a loss of trust and funding. Our refugee policies are extremely cruel. Our greenhouse gas emissions are rising, and we are dishonest about race, class, and history. And I wish I had written that, couldn't have said it better. None of those are shaping up as major issues in the next election, but all of them should be. I should make some declarations of interest. The major hegemonic parties have become authoritarian, secretive, and faction-ridden. Under the current organisation of the Labor Party, for example, it is very unlikely that Gough Whitlam, Bill Hayden, Don Dunstan, John Carr, Michael Duffy, John Button or Neil Blewett could have won an election. Me too, referring obviously to himself. I joined the Australian Labor Party in 1951. Owe it to 26 years in Parliament, 7 as Minister of Science, 9 as National President, and am a life member, which apparently means I cannot resign from the party and only leave by dying. However, for most of the 74 years since 1951, I have had an edgy, critical role in the party, always pushing for reform, more openness and courage. And I think the thing here is that Barry Jones is credible, that the things he says in this piece, particularly around, the way we are choosing to identify with Trump and so on, is of particular concern. There's also a piece which does refer to, also in the Saturday paper, which does refer to the Teals and the number of votes that they get. And that there is a good chance that the number of Teals or independents will increase in the next elections. And they will increase because of all the things that Barry Jones talks about. That there's dissatisfaction so much with the way our system runs, as there was in the United States, which resulted in Donald Trump. But I think here in Australia we can be more circumspect. We can look at the type of people that we want to elect. And because of our system of government, we are not going to wind up with somebody who wants to be a king. We're going to wind up with a balance. So the balance could possibly be, it is more likely to be, the Labor Party held together by Greens and some Teals. Now this will mean that there's a progressive government, not possibly a progressive Labor government, but we'll wind up with a government that will be pushed further to the left, that will do the things that are necessary in order to improve climate change, our education system, our health system, and other systems from which the public benefit, that aren't based on necessarily just increasing defence and doing the most horrific things towards immigrations, such as being able to have politicians decide on who should stay in Australia if they have joint citizenship. So there are many issues, I think, that are really important that we need to take note of for this election. Barry Jones sums it up well. But my issue is that at the end of the day, we cannot allow ourselves to have a divisive type of government or a divisive election. We must see the policies for what they are, whether it be Labor, Liberal, Greens, National Party or One Nation, whoever it might be, and seek out policies that are going to make our lives better, your and my life better. That is the issue. Let me know what you think in the section below, comment section below. Please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. And if there's anything you wish to say to me that is unkind, please try to avoid that. But I will take note of any of your comments. Any constructive comments, I certainly will note. So thanks to everybody for being with me. Take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.